What is good, friends? Welcome to another officer review. I hope you enjoyed the last one where I reviewed Wings of Wanderlust. If you did, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, as I will release a YouTube short that will explain its tactical skill and how it works. Now, this is an officer review. We're going to review Sky Jockey. We'll go skill by skill, analyze how it works for you on the battlefield. What's her best skill to awaken if you only have 180 statues to use? We're going to talk about that. Then at the end of this review, I will share with you some tests I've done to compare Sky Jockey with the other officers available right now for the Air Force. I did a one-on-one, I set a benchmark, and every single fighter officer went against that specific benchmark to determine which is the best damage dealer or which officer coped the best against that specific unit. That will help you determine which will be the best pairing. This was time consuming, but I think it will be beneficial for you as you're still wondering which officer is best for a true dogfight. And stay tuned for that test because the result will shock you. The best damage dealer against the Witcher is not what you think. Okay, so stay tuned for that. I guarantee you will get shocked. Now let's talk about Sky Jockey, the latest officer that came with the version 10.1. She is a fighter plane pilot. Her biggest trick is the critical strike. Let's review her skill one by one, starting with the tactical skill. If this officer is in a fighter plane troop, its damage is increased by 15%, and its normal attacks have a 40% chance of being a critical strike, dealing 150% damage. She is the one that offered the highest critical strike rate at 40%. So that may be appealing to you if you are a critical strike fan. It seems to be a fad now with Lilith. All those new officers always have this critical strike. The rate is different. Sometimes you have a probability. This is a 40%. On top of it, her damage is increased by 15%. It's up there. It's quite high, I think. Now, is this a deal breaker for you? We're going to see the rest of her skills. And don't forget to stay tuned until the end of the video to see her in action. You will see how much the critical strike is registered in the battle. But so far, we're off to a good start. Second skill, or first passive one called Adaptive Weaponry. It's an offense type skill, increases the intercept of this officer's fighter plane troop by 35% and its damage by 10%. 35% intercept is quite high. Another damage buff of 10%, so you had a 15% with the tactical one, plus 10%, we're up at 25. Not bad. So, and the intercept, what it means is when you enter in combat, when you get in contact with another fighter plane, you always deal more damage the few first seconds. That is the interception. Then the damage stabilize. So when you get in contact, the shock effect is higher with this officer because her intercept is at 35%. I can tell you that this is the most interesting skill so far. Now, the second passive one, balance skill called Standardized Gear, increases the firepower of this officer's troop by 20% and its HP by 20%. Number seems high, but it's firepower and HP, not damage intensity and damage resist. So the damage always deal more is always better if we can say then the firepower for equal value. Not bad, not the best for balance skill. It's all right. I expected something better for from a Gen 4 officer. However, it's okay. Her last passive skill called Tactical Equipment, it's a special type, increases the maneuverability of this officer's fighter plane true by 20% and its damage resist by 5%. Damage resist 5%, not super high. However, a maneuverability at 20%, it's fine. The maneuverability is the ability to dodge an attack. So it's a protection type of skill, even though it's called special, it will add more protection to your plane. Once you awaken those 4 skill, you'll be able to unlock the awakened one called Blade of Annihilation. This officer's fighter plane troop will strike an enemy again after landing a critical strike with its normal attacks, dealing skill damage 200, can trigger once every 2 seconds. According to my testing, she will deal that every 2 seconds. You can see the animation, so the graphic. Yes, since the critical strike rate is at 40%, the chance to deal that extra 200 damage is there. It's almost guaranteed to happen. Maybe not the case if you lost almost all your troops, but with a full squadron, no problem. This will trigger every single 2 seconds. So all in all, she's well-rounded. She got some offense, some defense, skills. She seems like to be a good damage dealer, great for dogfighting. I awaken her, as you can see, but I was a little bit disappointed. And let me tell you why. Um, with the testing I've done for the second part of this video, I found out that she's not the best officer despite being a Gen 4 officer, right? So you expect that every Gen 4 officer is the latest and greatest. I didn't find the case with Sky Jockey. Yes, she's great. She's not bad at all. However, she's not the best. Okay, and I noticed that even some Gen 1 officers are better at dogfighting. Okay, so keep this in mind. The test I done is truly a one-on-one, a true dogfight. This doesn't happen a lot during a battle. Sometimes you are outnumbered, but just to set a benchmark, that's how I did my test, and I found out that she didn't blow me away like Rapier or Stinging Fist did when they got released, and both of those officers are Gen 4. You know, when an officer is announced, you read the skill description, you read it again, and you read it one last time until the bulb light up on top of your head, and Eureka! Yeah, now I understand how her skill works and how she plays for me on the battlefield. So after reading her skills at the beginning, I said, nah, she's all right. And the results in the game are the same. Like, I didn't expect her to be mind-blowing. She wasn't super disappointing either, but for me, she doesn't behave like a true Gen 4 officer. Okay? Does that make sense? So you may ask, well, Mag, why did you awaken her? The first reason is I'm working on a second fighter. I already have a full fighter and a full bomber. I want a second fighter, so I needed an officer for that unit, for that additional unit. The second reason is, well, for you to make a good decision. So I take the risk. I spend those statues so you don't have to. And I'm always curious about those new officers anyways. I had the statues, so why not? But don't get me wrong, she's not terrible, far from it. You will see in the test how she cope against the Witcher, and hopefully that will help you make a good decision. So let's view the footage, shall we?
All right, so Wings of Glory versus Witcher. For those who are wondering which fighter plane I'm using as a benchmark. It's a 9-star fighter, modified all the way, upgraded all the way, no wrenches, no parts, no nothing. And I'm still struggling against this plane because the technology is at the maximum. So I'm going to speed run this process. This is Wings of Glory, one of the first or the first officer for the Air Force. Didn't do too good. Struggling quite a lot, actually. So he's almost done. And we're going to see the battle report. There you go. So I died. Only managed to kill 48 planes. Now let's try with Silver Comet. Silver Comet, still a popular choice among the officers despite being a Generation 1 hero. He's still up there. He stood the test of time, doing some great damage, especially in a 1 versus 1. Why am I using the Witcher as a test subject? It's because Witcher doesn't inflict any damage. She's all about shield and dodging the attack. So once again, I'm going to speed run this as it's quite boring, but Silver Comet performing better than I expected for a Generation 1 officer. So the dogfight is about to end. Only a few units, and this time I was able to defeat my opponent. Gonna retrain and let's look at the battle report. This time I killed everyone. Now let's try with Polar Phantom, a Generation 2 officer. I used him quite a lot, paired with Silver Comet, actually dealing a great amount of damage. So Polar Phantom, he have the grid effect that you can see in action. It's stacking, that deals additional damage. So let me speed run this sequence again. Polar Phantom, that was by far the longest battle. It was just able to survive against the Witcher. And Witcher, to be honest, she did pretty well against all those officers. Even despite not dealing any damage, like I said, the Witcher is all about dodging the attack and the shield.
As I said, shells don't have eyes.
The dogfight is about to end. I barely survive, killing 90 aircraft. Bladewing turn. He is a crowd pleaser, popular because he got the slowdown effect, but curiously he's not the officer that deals the most amount of damage. When we will see the spreadsheet I prepare, you will see that he's far from being the fierce or the most dangerous officer out there. He's doing well, but he's renowned for his interception and his slowdown effect. If you like to intercept other fighters and bombers and being able to catch them, Bladewing is the officer. So this time, Bladewing was not able to defeat the Witcher. He's about to die just now. There you go. So let's see the battle report. I lost all aircraft and only managed to kill 7. Darkwing versus Witcher. That will be exciting. So you will see Darkwing in action dealing a bunch of critical strikes. He's renowned for that. Will that help him defeat the Witcher in a timely fashion? So Darkwing is a bistro officer, meaning that he's not cheap to unlock. Is his price worth it? We will find out soon enough. Alright, so the battle is almost over. There you go, last aircraft shut down. Let's look at the battle report. This time, I only lost 66 aircraft. Not too bad, so best performance so far. Now Nagarani versus Witcher. Nagarani was the biggest surprise there. I wasn't expecting anything crazy from her, as she's known for her shield, but she does deal a lot of damage, especially against an officer that has a shield, and it looks like she got the upper hand right away. Let's see how she does. She's a Generation 4 officer, quite recent, so she should be able to perform good. How good? We will find out soon enough. Alright, so that battle ended quickly, and she's the one who did the best so far. Quite amazed by her performance. One last aircraft, there you go. So let's look at the battle report. I only managed to die 48 times. Not too bad. Heaven Savior versus the Witcher. So Heaven Savior, not the most popular hero for the fighter. He's definitely not the best for pure dogfighting. He's more of a buffing officer, meaning that he will buff bombers, and he will also increase his damage resist when he's under attack by a base. So not exactly the best skill set to go one-on-one against any aircraft. But despite all this, we will still compare it to other officers to see how well he does. He's not doing too good. Now only one aircraft left. How long will he survive? There you go. So let's see the battle report. Not too good. I died, only managed to kill 48 aircraft. Now, time for Sky Jockey, the latest and greatest. We will see her critical strike in action. You just have to zoom in a little bit. So she deals critical strike damage in orange. She also deals officer skill damage in yellow. That should be a good recipe as a dogfighter, but the result will present everything. Not doing too bad, not the best either. So this was kind of disappointing, but despite all this, like I said, not far from being the worst officer. Alright, she is about to die. She kind of barely survived that battle, actually, so. A few more critical strikes, and she will die right now. Okay, let's look at the battle report. I lost 72 units. Not the best performance. Okay, let's look at the spreadsheet. Now, it's in order from the worst to the best officer. Right away, you can notice that Nagarani, she is by far the best officer, despite being not the best damage dealing. However, why she's on top, or she's the most dominant against the Witcher, is she got a 20% damage buff when she go against an officer that have a shield, which is the case with Witcher. And just take those stats with a grain of salt. This is a one-on-one against the Witcher. It doesn't represent a real scenario, but it's just to give you an idea how she compare versus everybody else. So Heaven Savior, no surprise here. He's one of the worst officer, dealing the least amount of damage, then followed by Wings of Glory. Brisk Eagle, she didn't do too bad. I didn't see her in battle, but I registered the score. She was dealing a lot of critical strike, even though her hit probability was only 10%. Bladewing was disappointing. I thought he would deal more damage than that. He dealt the least amount of damage, but he dealt the most amount of officer damage. So when you had those two numbers together, it's not too bad. like I said, he's more popular to intercept other aircraft. Then we have Polar Phantom, Sky Jockey, and what do we have here? Silver Comet. Despite being a Generation 1 officer, he performed better than Sky Jockey. Then, no surprise here, we got Darkwing, and finally Nagarani. So for those who are looking for free-to-play officer, Nagarani and Silver Comet or Sky Jockey would be your best bet. A little bit better than that is Darkwing, but as you know, he is not cheap to unlock. So there you have it. You can keep those numbers and try to find the best combination, the one that will work the best for you. If you like this video and find those stats useful, please give me a like. It's much appreciated. It will help other commanders reach out for this content. Until then, friends, I'm going to wish you a great week. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next video. See ya.